Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Buy Round interview show today. Wow. The list of not just achievements but just current roles of this man.
Current roles of me. What about you? You're doing way more than me. I'm just doing 2GB.
Mate, it's not a competition.
Sorry.
It's not a competition. We're not here to decide who's the busier of the two.
Well, you would be.
Grandkids.
Yes, well, I've just had a grandson. I've got two granddaughters who live in Brisbane, and the grandson lives in Sydney with one of my daughters. I've got four daughters, and two of them have had children now, and the little boy is just over 5 weeks old. Harley, his name is. Harley Weir, and he's gorgeous.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's exciting, mate.
So grandfather, I'm not dealing with, so there's media personality and a model.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's never in question. I was surprised that I wasn't picked up earlier by Lowe's, even though I'm not doing as much. Matt Cooper's sort of muscled his way into the big men's section of Lowe's now, which I'm okay with, but, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they've got Cooper, Matt Cooper and Josh Reynolds in there.
Yeah, well, Josh Reynolds is there. How would he get in there?
Well,
they have a rat section or something, do they?
Well, mate, looking at like those two seem more like
normal.
Bit trendier than, if that makes sense. Like, with all due respect to Lowe's,
yeah,
I don't know if the type of people Matt Cooper are and Josh Reynolds are the type of people that want to be buying, are going to be buying their clothes. You know,
I've been with them a long time. I started, I think, around 2000. I've been with them nearly 25 years, Lowe's, and then they sort of started the big men's section. It was an idea they had, and I think it's been quite successful for them because there's a lot of big people out there who need clothes, and the quality's good. You know, I mean, I wear a lot of Lowe's stuff. Believe it or not, this is an outstanding Lowe's top. I've got many of them at home, and they've looked after me for a long time. Mrs. Penn has been a great supporter of mine, but mate, I'm getting old now, so I understand you have to get the new breed through there, whether it be radio or fashion.
Yeah, you want someone with a connection to the common man, and. With Matt Cooper's...
Yeah, Matt's a bit out there, isn't he?
Well, no, he's what was he, like, sexiest man in the league or something? Like,
what are you saying? They didn't have it in my day. I don't think I would have won it, but... I look at myself on YouTube a lot. I actually did this morning before I came on this great show. I wasn't a bad sort in my day, to be brutally honest with you. When I was thin and only about 100 kilos, I was okay.
But
I was married. I married very young.
Long locks as well.
Yeah, they weren't that long. Long by today's standards, by my standards.
Long enough.
Yeah, they were longer, yeah. But
what was the go there? That is on the rundown. Like,
what, long hair? It wasn't that long, mate. My parents wouldn't let me have long hair because mate, believe it or not, I was around when the Beatles toured Australia.
Really?
Yeah, my sister went to see the Beatles in Brisbane, and I desperately wanted to go. I'm trying to think when that was. I was born in 56. I reckon that was about 64. I reckon they toured in about 1964 or 65, the Beatles, and I desperately wanted to go because I love them. I love them. Like when I go to England, I've taken a couple of tours over there for World Cups, etc., and we often get on the bus and do the tour. I mean, you'd know about that.
Well, that's where I'm from, Liverpool. So.
Are you from Liverpool? Yeah. Well, we do the tour and they show us.
Cavern Club?
Yes, I've been there. I think I've been there a couple of times. It's great. I just love the history of that, and I love the Beatles, mate. Their music was outstanding, and they're the best ever, without doubt.
It's a Wild Street, Matthew Street.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Is that where
the Cavern Club is?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But mate, long hair.
Wasn't that long, mate. It wasn't.
It was long enough to ask a few questions.
Oh, well, okay. What are you going to ask? Oh, it's probably pre-model days.
Look, there's some players out there that I would never question their hairstyle, like Tino Fasuamalao. He has longish hair.
Yeah.
That, like...
Longish? Goes down to halfway down his back, doesn't it? It's very long.
There's a couple of... Yeah. But for you at that time...
You like Luai's hair?
Like
it's long
for him,
yeah.
It's nice for him. Like I wouldn't sport longer hair. I had longer-ish.
Did you?
But not like just not short back and side style like I do now. But yours was long for
Yeah, I mean,
Or maybe think like...
I want to see photos of that. I don't think I ever really had long hair because firstly my parents wouldn't let me have long hair, and I did want to have it. But then when
Did you want to go longer?
Nah, not really. No, it wasn't that long, mate. Have you got photos of this? Are you going to put a photo up or something on this great... Oh, okay.
No, you just got to...
Well, it wasn't that long, mate. No, it wasn't long. You're off your chops. Well, when did you see a photo of me with long hair?
No, it wasn't a photo. It was on YouTube.
Might have been somebody else.
Their videos.
Yeah, it might have been somebody else. I'm not sure. I only discovered YouTube really this morning, and I must admit I've thoroughly enjoyed looking at myself on it. There's a lot of great stuff on there. A lot of great stuff. I remember a game in, believe it or not, 1984 at the Bulldogs where we played Canberra. I think it was the second last or last game of the season. I had a particularly good game in that game, and I did watch a few of those tries today and the commentary. It was really good. Anyway, just thought I'd tell you, if you want to watch YouTube, 1984, Canterbury v Canberra, round 22 or something like that. Big man, good stuff.
Well, just on that 1984 season, the Bulldogs beat the Parramatta Eels in the grand final. They were going for 4 in a row.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that rivalry a little bit later on.
Yeah,
but
okay.
that Dogs team, Mortimer, Lamb, Potter, Folks, Tunks, yourself.
It's a great side.
How good was it? Because again, I hear the stories, you know, the legend lives on, but just how good was that team?
Well, see, the Bulldogs in 81, 2 and 3, they were sick of being probably the third best side in the competition. Normally, at those days, it was normally Manly and Parramatta. And Parramatta had a great side, a really great side. That's Sterling, Kenny, Growth, Ella, Cronin, outstanding backs, and a good pack of forwards, Peter Wynn. There are others, but I can't remember their names. But anyway, they were good players. But they were an outstanding side. And I think the Bulldogs, see, I was playing for Penrith up until the end of 83 and ended up going to the Bulldogs in 84, mainly because, well, Penrith didn't offer me a contract. I thought that was a good enough reason to leave. So I'll tell you what happened. At the end of 83, Penrith decided to pull their heads in when it came to contracts. So they decided not to offer anyone contracts. But if you had a pre-existing contract, they honoured it. But instead of paying contracts, they paid the players like exorbitant amounts for a first-grade game, like $1,000, which was a lot of money then.
Oh, so instead of guaranteed income.
Yeah, it was more a pay-for-performance type thing. So I think you got something like $1,000. Anyway, I happened to be off contract at the end of 83 and I didn't want to do that because I'd had a history of a lot of injuries and stuff, and I just wanted to get a little bit of security with regards to contract. I was offered 2 clubs made offers, Parramatta and the Bulldogs. I would have loved to have played for Parramatta. I lived at Penrith and, Parramatta was closer. They'd just won 3 comps in a row. They had a fantastic side. But at the end of the day, it was dollars. I met with Peter Moore and he offered me, I think it was about 5,000 more than what Canterbury were prepared to, what Parramatta were prepared to offer me. And I'm pretty weak when it comes to that and decided to take the money. And I also knew they'd have a good side. They just had Warren Ryan as coach. Warren Ryan was coming in 84 as coach of the Bulldogs. They'd bought a number of good players, Peter Kelly, Peter Tunks, and there were heaps of others. Brian Batiste went there as well. I knew they'd be strong. Terry Lamb, he's the number one. Terry Lamb, as you know, Terry, he's a super bloke and he was a hell of a player. I know you probably didn't see a lot of Terry, but mate, he was one of the great players. Yeah. And when you put him with Steve Mortimer, it was magical, know. And the rest of the back line was pretty good. The other Mortimer boys, Andrew Farrer, good side. We had a good side.
That 84 grand final, like I say, Eels going for 3 in a row. The rivalry was being built that we're going to speak about just how important was that and just how difficult was that game, like a 6-4 game. Some people would go, 6-4, not for me. But
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like depends if you're a rugby league purist. I think you'd enjoy the game because I think the longer the game went, the more people would have thought Parramatta might beat us through their experience. And, as I said before, they were a great side, but so were we. We hung on by our teeth, seriously. We won 6-4. Mick Cronin had a kick to draw the game with about 5 minutes to go from a pretty easy position and missed it, which is unlike Mick Cronin. But, you know, toe pokers in those days, it was a bit different. Like in those days, if you were kicking at, say, 70%, you were regarded as a pretty good goal kicker, really good goal kicker. Whereas these days, if you're not kicking at 80%, you're probably not that good. You know, it's a different, you know, toe poking was a bit different to around the corner stuff. And Mick Cronin was an outstanding goal kicker, but by today's standards, I think if you look at his percentages compared to, you know, the boys who kick today, they're probably not that good. Anyway, he missed the kick and we managed to hold on, which was great. We wouldn't have won if it went to extra time. I think we would have lost. We'd won the first weekend. We had a weekend off. I can't remember what happened. We might have had a weekend off to start the semis, played and won, had another weekend off, and then played the grand final. It was a bit strange in those days. So we were probably a bit short of a gallop, particularly if it would have gone to extra time. I think we might have struggled.
What was your role within the team? Obviously, we spoke about those legends that played. Where did you fit in?
I went there. I was just a bit of ball playing on the fringes, like on the edges. I didn't start the game. I was, to be honest, I was a bit dirty on it. I'd fought my way. I got into the side. Bulldogs were minor premiers. They'd had a fantastic season, you know. And I dislocated my shoulder in the first trial of the season at the Dogs. So I've just come off a broken jaw. Then next game, dislocated a shoulder. Had to have an operation, so I missed probably the first 8 rounds. And when I did come back, I was playing reserve grade. It wasn't right, and I wasn't playing particularly well.
The shoulder
wasn't right, you know, and I wasn't playing particularly well. I'll tell you the story, and this is something that I really believe, and I know it's true. Bulldogs, who were leading the comp, were playing Cronulla this day at Belmore, and Cronulla were probably fringe 8, and at half time, in the first grade, they were leading, I don't know, 20-0 or something like that. They were actually giving the Bulldogs a bit of a hiding. Jack Gibson was the coach at Cronulla, and Warren Ryan always disliked the fact that Jack Gibson was classified as the super coach, whereas Warren thought he was, and he was a great coach. Half-time, Warren's got the shits, so he's dragged 4 of our blokes off at half-time and put 4 of the Reggies on who were sitting on the bench, and I happen to be one of them. So I've gone from sitting on the bench to playing first grade. I can't remember. Cronulla still beat us, but we did all right in the second half come Tuesday night. I mean, those 4 blokes who we dragged from reserve grade, I think Mark Bugden was one, I was one, Mick Potter might have even been one, I'm not sure who they were. Steve O'Brien might have been one. Anyway, we all remained in first grade for the next week. And as far as my memory goes, I don't think we lost another game. So, you know, luck's a fortune. I wasn't playing particularly well, but as soon as I got into first grade, and I'm a big believer, the better standard player you play with, the better you play.
Yeah.
You know, and I think most footballers would agree with that.
I know some of those people within the team liked a good time. Lots of good times in the weeks.
Yeah.
What was it like back then?
I was different, mate. You know, I mean, most of us had jobs as well. You know, there wasn't full-time footy. We all had jobs. But if you're talking about 84 with the Bulldogs, it was a little different for me because I was still living at Penrith. So I couldn't really have a really good time with the boys, and then I couldn't drive home, obviously, if I'd had a few drinks. So it was a little different in those days. But, for example, when I was at Penrith and playing for Penrith and living up there, like, we'd nearly celebrate if we won the toss. Seriously, it was pretty – we didn't win many games. But you'd play, if you played at Penrith particularly, go back to the Leagues Club, have a night on the drink. Some would turn up for work the next day, some wouldn't, you know. But we you know, there was a drinking culture there. I don't think there's any doubt about that in the whole game, and there was for years and years and years, probably until the game became professional. And now, you know, they've got to watch what they eat, and we didn't have any of that stuff. A lot of us didn't do weights, you know, and as you know, it's a big part of it now, and it's a completely different game now.
Yeah.
You know, as I said, we all had jobs. You know, most of us had families. You know, we weren't getting paid a fortune. You were getting paid, well, depends who you were and what standard of footballer you were. But if you were the elite right up the very top level, you were probably getting a good wage. But if you're, middle of the road, you were getting okay. It was just a nice little bonus to collect at the end of the year.
Yeah. So there was a very different culture with on and off the field. The celebrations after you beat Parramatta. Any recollection?
Well, yeah, I do. I like, you know what, James, and I say this all the time, it's my proudest moment in football, winning a grand final. I went through a stage when I was at Penrith. I never thought I'd win a grand final. I ended up going to Canterbury and we won one in '84, and it was phenomenal. I remember the people of in Belmore. Belmore, you played there yourself for a long time. The street was completely blocked with fans. They sort of carried you over the top of their heads with their arms to get into the Leagues Club. Mate, it was just madness. It was fantastic. They were all loving you, and particularly if you played okay, they were slapping you on the back, and you didn't buy a drink, obviously, and it was just mad. Next day, there was still a number of us still around there, and I don't know, I suppose we just got on the drink again, so we had a few drinks, and that's the way we celebrated. In the old days, I went to work, I think, on the Tuesday if I had to.
So the reunion for that 84 will be...
There's a reunion coming up, actually.
40, it'll be almost 40 years.
It would be. It is 40 years.
What are they like when you see those?
But you know what? Because of my job, they've got a reunion coming up. You would have been invited to it, I imagine, this week. Luke Goodwin sends out the stuff. Luke does a great job for them. And there's one coming up, I think it's on the 9th or 10th.
I think that's a general.
Yeah, that's a general.
All
one.
of anyone that's ever played for the Dogs.
Well, mate, I haven't.
But in particular, will that 84 team?
Well, I hope so, but I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, it's 40 years. Really, there should be something done.
Yeah, well, it'd be. It'd be nice because, mate, it was a great side. Tunks, Kelly, Bugden, Steve Folkes, who's no longer with us, Brian Batiste, Langmack. You know Langers, he's just mad.
Well, it is important because, like you say, Folkes is no longer with us. Yeah. Mortimer is...
He's sick.
Yeah, and, you delay it and you don't know when... Yeah. You don't know who will be around for the next one.
Exactly. Mate, I'd like to think they might do something, but at the moment I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
But, I hadn't even thought about that until you just mentioned it. So it is 40 years. Maybe I should get off my butt. I know Langers would probably get involved in doing something.
I don't know if that's a good idea to get him organising it.
He's mad at the best of times, and he always has been, He was a great player.
Yeah.
He was a great player. And he was only a young boy when I was there, and I was only there 2 years, 84 and 85. But he was only a young boy then. He was 20, I suppose, then. But for a bloke who was so young, he could give out orders. He could shoot out orders pretty well, and he had a great football brain. I think Warren Ryan recognised that.
Yeah.
And Langers is one of those blokes who I think was underutilised in rep football. He would have been a super... I think he went away on a kangaroo tour and he would have played for Australia, but I don't think he played a lot of tests. I think he should have. He was good, mate, and he was good on the yap as well, like not intimidating the opposition, but he was giving it to them.
The sledging.
And you need those blokes. Yeah. He was one of the great sledgers in our game, and and then you had Terry Lamb, who's just one of the greatest players ever and also one of the greatest blokes ever. I love Terry. Best backer-upper I've ever seen.
That's a great phrase.
He is the best backer-upper I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He'd score a try, and just because he's in the right spot at the right time.
Did he just have the instinct, the nous to anticipate there's a line break about to happen and almost go before it happens?
No doubt. No doubt he did. And you see there's probably a number of them, not a lot of them do it, but he is, in my opinion, the best I've ever seen. He just, right spot at right time, he scored a heap of tries, kicked goals, did the lot, and when you add that, with the brilliance of Steve Mortimer, you had Farah and Chris Mortimer in the centres, they were tough.
Yeah.
Made uncompromising, they'd intimidate opposition, not with the mouth, but with their actions. And they were tough, bordering on dirty, but they were brutal, both of them. Steve O'Brien was a winger. He was a great player, Steve O'Brien. I think Peter Mortimer, the other winger. All the Mortimers, they're all different. And I know there's more than three of them, but the three of the boys I played with, all so different. But I love them all,
Mate, just going to that era, one of the things I love about sport is rivalries. Most often rivalries form because of geographical proximity from club to club, and there's a hatred of there, and there's a hatred there, and it's you speak to fans and there's no real justification. It's just like, they're from that side of town, and like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, and they'd be the same. Well, I don't like them because they support the Bulldogs, and I don't like them because they support the Eels. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. But that's what sport is. It's emotion.
It is.
But then there's the other rivalries that come from greatness and playing big games against one another. So when you've got this Parramatta and Bulldogs rivalry, they for both reasons why rivalries form in terms of geographical proximity and playing in big games.
Yep.
There were 7 grand finals that were won between these two neighbouring football clubs over a course of 7 years.
Well,
only those two teams won.
And don't forget, there was a stage where Parramatta actually in that period played at Belmore because their home ground was being done up. Parramatta Stadium as it is today. I think it's in the same spot. I don't know if it is or isn't. But their Cumberland Oval was sort of knocked down after I think they won their first comp. They burnt all the sheds down and stuff there, I think, and then they were developing it anyway. But Parramatta ended up playing out of Belmore for a couple of years, I think. So, not that adds to the rivalry, but we might have bumped into them occasionally as well.
There's a little bit of what are you doing in our backyard kind of thing.
Oh, mate, they were a great side too.
Yeah.
To win 3 premierships in a row, and when you think about what the Panthers have done, in the last 3 years, a lot of people said, no, that'll never happen again. But Penrith have shown how good they are by doing that. They're an outstanding club, outstanding team, great organisation, but so were Parramatta, and so were the Bulldogs. Bulldogs, they played the grand final, 84, 85, got beaten 86. It's funny, in those 3 years that the Bulldogs played, they won 6-4, 7-6 and lost 4-2. 3 grand finals. So they scored, what's that? They scored 6 in one game, 7 in another and 2 in another. So what's that, 15? They scored 15 points in 3 years and won 2 grand finals. It is incredible. And as you said before, mate, people might say, that would have been boring. It wasn't boring.
Yeah.
It was cliffhanger stuff.
Tension.
Absolutely.
That's what, and goes down to the wire. That's what you want in big games is tension. But just in terms of that rivalry between the two teams, I figure I'd have a good understanding of how that would look like now because of all the media in and around it, the attention it would generate, the punditry, the commentary. What was it like then?
Well, there was nothing like it was now.
Did you ever feel for? Was there hatred for you as a player towards Parramatta?
No,
or
not
was it just
at all.
another game?
Oh, respect, mate. I think respect. I mean, any side that can win 3 in a row, and they had half a dozen Australian representatives in their side. To be honest, I was honoured to play against them. Be on the same field as them, and I think when you're on the same field as them, and then, if you play okay or well, it gives you a little bit of self-confidence, a bit of boost. You think, they're human like the rest of us. You can play well against the best there is. And that to me, and I was really happy how I played in 84 in the grand final in particular. That just gave me a heap of confidence, mate. I thought, I'm a pretty good player.
Yeah, but
I can play against these blokes.
Yeah.
And hold my head up. But there's no hatred. I didn't hate them at all.
What I'm trying to imagine what it'd be like now, Mate,
I found them in those days because it was a pretty rough and ready competition. I found Parramatta one of the sides that I didn't really go out there thinking, gee, someone might take my head off here today, because there was a number of sides around the place that had some blokes who were lunatics who could do that, playing, and they might just, knock the heck out. But Parramatta were one of those sides who they didn't win through sheer brutality; they won through ability and skill.
Yeah,
And whereas I've got to say, we had a couple of blokes in our side, like Peter Kelly, for example. Folks was tough. They were tough. Gillespie was on the fringes in those days. He came in, might have played 85 grand final, Cement Gillespie. So we had some blokes who were, and not dirty players, but you knew when you were tackled by them, you'd been tackled. You know, those blokes. So, and that was a bit similar with Parramatta. You know, I didn't think they had many blokes. Like, put it this way, I didn't run out there thinking, geez, I've got to keep an eye out for this bloke. He might try and take my head off. Whereas other games, I would.
Well, again, like looking back, there was media around the game, but nowhere near like
Not
it is
frenzy.
today.
No, nowhere near.
But was it spoken about the rivalry that was being built between these two neighbouring football clubs?
Mate, not ad nauseum like it would be today. You know, and there's still a rivalry between.
Yeah, I know there's.
Well, you played there, mate.
There's some Bulldogs fans that have memories of this era that are just no. Like, I know a good friend of mine, Tony Hayek. He works at a company called Blue Wealth Property, and he is like, there is no yellow to be seen in this office. Like, it is just like a yellow free zone. He will not accept it because it's blue and yellow. It's just like, no.
Yeah.
And this comes from this. It all stems from this era, and he's got unjustified hatred of people that support Parramatta just because they support Parramatta.
I think as the years have gone on, I think the hatred has probably gone out of the game to a certain degree, and I even think the rivalries have a little bit as well. You know, Penrith and Parramatta used to be a great rivalry as well.
Do you know why I think the rivalries have gone out?
Why?
Supercoach.
Supercoach?
Yeah.
As in the playing Supercoach?
Yep.
I don't play Supercoach. Tell me about it.
So,
why is a rivalry going out because of Supercoach?
Because it all used to be about your team winning, and maybe your least favourite team losing. You'd celebrate them losing and your team winning. But now I think with the tipping comp and Supercoach, everyone it's that self-interest of, I want my tip. I'm going to sacrifice my hatred for this team because I want to win my tipping comp. So I'm going to tip them. I'm going to follow them. I'm going to watch them. I'm going to almost cheer them on to win. And then with my Supercoach team, I want that player who may play for that team that I despise to actually play and do well. I'm going to watch them. I'm going to appreciate them. So I
are you into Supercoach?
No. No. I used to play. I used to do one of the football ones.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in a head-to-head league. But now the way the Supercoach is played, it's head-to-head. It's not just the winner of the ladder. It's head-to-head. So they've been really smart with how it's a big part of our game, Supercoach. I know some people don't like it, and as players, you get people going, "Oh, pick your Supercoach teams up." And I think Trent Robinson fired back, but people take it so serious.
Yeah, I saw that.
And when they've changed the format of it, where it used to be just basically everyone enters into a comp and whoever's top total points, but now they do head-to-head battles, which makes it more personal. Which I think you care more about your Supercoach than you do almost your team winning.
Yeah, it's a bit like tipping competitions.
Yeah,
that I you know what, I find them frustrating, tipping competitions. But like a 2GB where I work, there's one with all the presenters, a tipping competition. You don't want to run because you get hammered if you're running last or whatever. I'm actually going okay this year, but I'm finding pressure when I've got a tip. Like, I had to do my tips today, which is Tuesday, right?
Well, that's early.
Well, but they publish them on a Wednesday apparently. So anyway, I put them in, and then I'm thinking, oh, that's right. There's going to be players in and out from state of origin, etc., etc., etc. So I'm now under pressure. I don't want to drop down the ladder. And I actually gave myself up on the weekend. I was outraged by my own performance. I tipped the Sharks to beat the Panthers, but in the tipping competition they printed I tipped the Panthers. So I didn't know whether to be Mr. Nice Guy and Mr. Honesty or not. In the end, the honesty came out. So that's the sort of guy you're dealing with here, James. I told them I actually did tip the Sharks. It cost me a tip. I was filthy on myself.
Fair
I should have just shut up and gone with the Panthers.
You should have, would have, could have, didn't. But
exactly. Good point.
Maybe this will come back to bite you in the arse at the end of the season. I think maybe the rivalries have dropped off, that personal rivalry, but the attention that those 7 grand finals that were won by the two clubs would have been absolutely insane. We can talk about the rivalry. People still would have had, say if that was Parramatta and the Bulldogs now, Parramatta fans would still have Matt Burton in their Supercoach team. Bulldogs fans would still have Mitchell Moses in the Supercoach team, and I think that apart, the attention that would create would be insane. The media would just be it'd be great. It'd be bad for the other 15 teams in the current competition, but the focus that and the amount of attention would be absolutely insane.
Yeah. You know what? I've never thought of that, but you're right. You are right. You're a very smart guy. I don't think that deeply into the game, because I'm old now and I don't really give a rat's. At the end of the day, I just like going and watching the footy. I love the footy. I'll watch every game I possibly can. I don't know if you do. Are you a mad footy head? Will you watch every game if you can?
Well, fortunately,
I know you're working.
I work a lot of the games, and then if there's a really good game on, I'll watch it. If not, I'll just make sure I'll watch like the highlights.
So, I don't know. Do you work Friday nights?
Yes.
Okay. See, I don't work Friday nights, but I'll if I can, I will certainly watch both games on a normal weekend on a Friday night. I love the 6 o'clock game, and then I watch the 8 o'clock game as well. And I love that. But I'll watch. I know I work Saturdays, but we call the 5:30 game, so there's a game at 3 o'clock that I'll try and watch as best I can while I'm trying to entertain the fans. It's not easy to do, but I'm good at it. So, I just, to be honest, that's probably a lie. I probably don't take a great deal of interest in the 3 o'clock game. I'm more about entertaining the fans. So 131873, give us a call.
So for me, I generally speaking don't work Saturdays.
All right.
But
yes,
great. But sometimes I have to leave the house to go and watch the game for work purposes.
Is that what you tell Darling?
At a local watering hole.
So, is your wife English?
Canadian.
Canadian.
Yeah.
I love Canadians. Mate, I do. I've been to America a few times. I know Canada's a bit different. I haven't been to Canada. But I've met a lot of Canadians who are in America. Now, I do have trouble working out by their accents that they're Canadian because it sounds. Can you tell a Canadian apart from an American?
There's certain words that I would be able to go. Oh,
can you give me one of those words?
They use a lot at the end of a sentence,
like Queenslanders. Great state, Queensland. Is that what you're saying?
Kind of like that, yeah.
Queenslanders do that,
yeah. A bit like
Canadians,
Aussies say. I might go to the shops later, but and I remember when I came here,
don't
and I'm
finish
like
the sentence.
But what?
Mate, you've turned into an Aussie though.
No,
haven't you?
don't you fucking dare! You'll be off this show. Okay. Turned into an Aussie. What do you mean?
You'll turn into an Aussie. Mate, it's
that speaks volumes about Aussies. You have to turn into one.
Well, mate, you know what's happened. And I have this argument all the time with State of Origin coming up because I'm a Queenslander, right? Even though I got into trouble on the weekend because at Lowe's I did wear some Blues outfits. Even though I looked happy, I really wasn't deep down, but I did it and I got busted. So they're up me, the boys, for doing that. But I'll always support Queensland. But you know what I've found? Queenslanders who come to New South Wales never change. But I've noticed New South Welshmen who go to Queensland become Queenslanders eventually. And I'll give you a couple of examples. They're both cricketers. Alan Border is one. You know Alan Border?
I do, yeah.
Jeff Thompson. There's two. Now, they were two New South Welshmen who went up to Queensland, ended up playing cricket for Queensland, Australia, whatever, and they now support Queensland.
Yeah, so
that would never happen. Queensland, yeah. I don't know a Queensland.
Ben Dobbin, the host of the Sunday Simbin.
Yeah, he's New South Welshman originally.
Born in New South Wales, the Mossman Mauler.
Queensland boy.
Now he supports Queensland.
Yeah, it's amazing. How good is that?
Mate, do you know what, right?
What?
I don't understand that because you know when the Women's World Cup was on, right?
I was over there for that.
No.
Oh, cricket.
No, the soccer.
Oh, soccer. Sorry about that. I was talking about league. No, I don't remember that.
The Women's World Cup was on.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
And the Australian team were. Did they play England?
Played here in Australia.
Yeah, played here. Did they play England, Charlie? Yeah, I think so. Am I getting this? Sorry. Yes, they played England in the semi-final.
Right.
And
what?
some people were like, I actually, people had this person, a couple of people say to me, "Oh, split loyalties tonight." I was like, no.
So not one part of your body went for Australia.
I was like, what are you talking about? Split loyalties? Like, you think I'm going to be supporting Australia over England? Are you mad? Like, but mate, obviously,
good on you.
Sport is it's gone from being this very blokey, like, tribal thing, and it's bringing in more and more people. Sport has never been for more people than it ever has been, but some of those people, they don't understand that. And I was probably speaking to somebody that didn't understand the fact that, like, I said to them, I will not be supporting Australia in any way, shape or form today against England. And if they beat England, I will be cheering Spain in the final. And they were like almost offended.
Well,
I was
I'm offended by that. Why would you cheer for Spain?
Because
you're living in Australia, mate.
Yeah, that's fine. And I love the country. I'd go to war to fight for the country unless it was against England, but I will not cheer them in a sporting capacity against absolutely anybody.
Right. Well, what if Australia and Spain went to war? Who would you be on there?
I'd fight for Australia.
Well, don't support Spain when they play Australia then.
Sport and war are different. I don't want Australia to do well at any sporting capacity. Like, I could never support them. You know what? Like, so if my daughters ever got,
I bet they're Aussies. Were they born here?
They were born. They're Aussie. They sound Aussie. They've got Aussie passports. If they ever represented Australia against England, I would boo them. As they come onto the field,
chops, mate. You, my friend, I'm going to say you're a bad father.
Good,
you're a very bad father,
but an honest father.
Yeah, mate. I will say to you, I'm calling that bullshit. I'm saying if they ever play for Australia against England, you will be supporting your kids.
I would be turning up with my Free Lions shirt on, scarf in the air. Singing "God Save the King."
You know what? How long you been here now?
Abusing the Aussies.
How long you been here?
Booing them. I boo.
How long have you lived here now?
Too long.
Okay. Well, by the time your kids grow up, how old are your daughters? Are they 10?
8 and 6.
8 and 6. By the time they're playing, now let's say it's 15 years time, right? You will be a fully fledged Aussie. My friend,
no.
What?
I'm sorry. No.
You know,
you don't. Because
do you ever go to the clubs and play pokies?
Not
they
really.
Don't have them in America. See, you're not you're going to be an Aussie one day, mate.
They'll play the pokies. Look, they're not really. like
your wife play them.
Not really, no. Like, I don't know. I prefer to gamble on sports than pokies when I feel like I've got.
I'll have a crack at just about anything, to be brutally honest with you. But I do like the sports betting. I shouldn't say that, should I?
No, you're allowed to.
Darling's not watching this, are you, darling?
But in all seriousness, yes. I won't cheer for Australia. I don't think you can. It'd be like, how long have you lived in Sydney?
Came down in, can't remember, 79, I think.
All right, well, with that logic, you should be cheering for New South Wales.
No, that's different, mate.
No, how is it different?
Because it's state against state and mate against mate. It's not country against country.
It's exactly the same. State, mate. All right, geographical areas are like, they're made up. Like, someone somewhere made up, here's where the border is, and hate that hatred and state against state, mate against mate. It's all made up. And same with England. It's all made up, and but it's in here in your ticker, and I've been institutionalized, and I've got I could mate, look, I love Australia, but I could never ever. There's not a country on the planet I would cheer for against Australia.
Okay, who do English dislike in the UK most?
Irish, you know what?
Scottish.
The English are very, very accepting. We are just hated by everyone. Northern Ireland hate us, Irish hate us, Scottish hate us.
But you don't hate them.
The French hate us. I'd like to see Ireland do well, say against Wales or France, against the Frenchies. Give me Ireland any day. But you know what? The Irish, they want the English to lose to the Frenchies.
What about the Frenchies? You don't like Frenchies, obviously.
No.
What about Frenchies v Australia? Who you on?
Oh, mate, it's hard. I'd support the
So
Frenchies.
you hate the Frenchies, but
Yeah,
and
but I
now you
hate the
can't
Aussie-
work
I
out
hate
whether you want to
Aussies
go
more.
with the Aussies more. Who do you think gets on this great show and gives you the ratings you get here? All Aussies, bro.
Yeah, I know, and I love them individually. I support them individually.
Okay.
But not as a country. It's, you just can't, mate.
I was going to say Brandon Smith's a great example, but he's a Kiwi, isn't he? I forgot about that. I said the other day on the radio we were talking, I sort of half by meant it, but half by didn't. I wasn't thinking. I said, geez, with all the halfbacks going down for New South Wales, maybe they should try and get the bloke from the Gold Coast. What's his name? Is injured. He's been there for 1,000 years. Kieran Foran. And then they said, he's a Kiwi, you idiot. I said, oh, that's right, I forgot. Don't worry about Kieran Foran.
Yeah,
Anyway.
put a line through him.
just take that out of what I just said.
Yeah, can we dump that? We're probably going to have to dump all this podcast with me slagging Australia off.
No, that's good. You'll get the shit mail.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to bag. You're going to lose a lot of fans, mate.
No, well,
It's like Gordy taking over for you on 360.
Look, at least the fans of the show, they might not agree with everything, but they know it's truthful.
Yes.
So the truth is, I could never support Australia. I'd boo my own daughter if she ever played for the Australian national team.
I don't believe that. I don't believe, mate. Yeah, can I ask you a question while you're on? Because I know this is your great podcast, but I love this great stuff. Do you always tell the truth when you're on air? Like always, or sometimes you drop off and go with the company line?
I'd like to think I always speak what I think is not necessarily the truth.
I think
I would like to say I would always say my opinion. My true
that's all I want to
opinion.
know. Well, I've been in the media a long time. I think sometimes you got to bite your tongue when you're in the media.
Yeah, you do. You just don't talk about something, or you know that there's potential ramifications for what you say. You've got. That's a very. It's always on the back of your mind.
Yeah,
that
it is.
You've
got to be careful.
Yeah.
Swearing and stuff like that. Whereas, you talk to your mate, you probably drop a few F-bombs or whatever. But when you're on TV or radio or whatever, you can't do that. It's not a fine line, but you've also got to maybe sometimes modify what you think to suit the situation, as in truth and maybe saying nothing, as you just said.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're better off saying nothing, aren't you?
Or don't. You're not obligated to answer the question you're asked. Do you know what I mean?
Is that why you're not answering what I just asked you?
Basically, give a different answer. No, I think I'd never use the line, well, I get paid for my opinion. That's not it. It's like most of the time, like the stuff I talk about, it's the stuff I talk about in the pub or the cafe or the school drop off.
Yeah.
Or hang, it's just happened. But obviously, if you're on radio or TV or a podcast, there's a bit more depth to it.
Yeah.
So a bit more thinking time, like try and find some evidence to support your claims. Well,
I've been doing it a long time now, the radio and stuff, and I love the radio. It's so good. You don't have to dress up like this, for example. You can be yourself to a certain degree without overstepping the line. But it's just, and the thing I love about it, it's not scripted. It's all off the top. Top of your head. You can sometimes get yourself into trouble because you try and dig yourself out of it. But in general, I just love the radio, the immediacy of it, and the ability to interact with the punters out there. And these days, like in the old days, as I said, I've been doing radio for a long time now. In the old days, we didn't have the internet. You didn't have emails. You didn't have texts. You just open line callers.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And we used to get a lot of open line callers, but now there's more people use emails, texting than the open line stuff. Anyway, I might digress there. I don't know how I got onto that, but anyway, I'm Darryl Brohman. That's what I think.
The good thing about radio, so if you're on TV and you say something, everybody gets the remote and goes, hang on, pause, wind that back. What did he just say? What did he just do? On radio, you can't pause it.
No.
So you'd have to have someone like actually recording the radio.
Yeah, but James, you've been in radio and media long enough. There are that many give-ups out there. As soon as I say something about Hadley, for example, he knows about it within about 5 seconds, on our station. Because I bag him quite a bit.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, because he's a pain in the bum sometimes. just annoys me.
You know what always fascinates me? Some of the media wars.
Well, mate, some of them are internal too. Don't worry. Some of them are just, you know. I've been through a few of them myself in the old days, but
who is?
Oh well, Hadley, Bozo.
Over what?
Oh, just ganging up on me and stuff. But that's all gone now. I'm now okay with Hadley. I've actually emceed his daughter's wedding a year or two back, and it was great. So him and I are like this now, People's Champion. I'm off contract. Can you get me another one, please, Ray, if you're watching this great show?
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like,
Bozo was hard too. I even though I had a lot of great times with him, I also butted heads with him a fair bit too. A lot during the State of Origin period because I was only Queenslander on the panel and he was a New South Wales selector.
Yeah.
And the whole lot. And I must admit I did take a lot of joy out of Queensland's success over the years. And they've had a lot of success, Queensland. Considering when you do look at the sides over the years, most times they've been inferior sides, I think a lot of times, but they somehow find a way of winning. And I stand by that as a Queenslander. I think there's a definite difference between Queensland and New South Wales in a lot of ways.
You reckon it means more to Queenslanders?
Mate, if I say that, I'm going to get smashed. You know that, you idiot. As soon as I say that.
Oh, mate, well, hang on. You were just talking about always telling the truth. You just said it. Talking about always telling the truth.
I've said it. No, I have said that a million times. But you know what? I was brought up. I think Queenslanders have a deep hatred's not the right word, but they believe that we are treated as second-class citizens. They think New South Welshmen think we're inferior souls. And so I think that's what most Queenslanders think. So I think there's just a bit of a chip on their shoulder, and when they can beat New South Wales, particularly in State of Origin, I think they enjoy it more than what New South Wales do when they beat Queensland. And you know they'll hail me down for that. I think there is a little bit of difference between being a Queensland and New South Wales in the way they look upon the series. What do you think? Mate, would you agree that over the years Queensland have had have had an inferior side to New South Wales?
What, like Cameron Smith,
as in
Billy
names.
Slater, Cooper Cronk,
but that was a golden 10-year
Thurston,
period. That was a golden 10-year
talk
period.
about inferior, wow.
Well, no, but you go through...
How would you win anything with that spine? Just baffles me.
Whose show is this? What's going on here?
It absolutely baffles me.
Mate, okay. I mean, State of Origin's been going for 40 years, Wally.
Did he?
Right? They might have had a 10 or 12 year area where they did have superior players. But other than that, most of the sides have been, in my opinion, a little bit inferior, even though we did have the great Wally there for a while.
Well, I guess if you were to look at it on paper,
yes.
On paper, side by side, comparison to comparison, you could argue that Queensland have won more games as genuine underdogs than what New South Wales have won as genuine underdogs.
Well, I think Queensland have been underdogs more series than not.
I'm not talking about what the bookmakers say because it's different. It's actual like reality because the bookmakers, they don't actually make it. It goes on amount of money gambled on the outcome. So more people from there's more people in New South Wales. So more people in New South Wales will back New South Wales to win. So it's not necessarily a true reflection of who is
hold on.
The favourite.
This game coming up, we're not going to talk about the bookies, of course, but I will. Queensland are favourites. There's still less people in Queensland. Explain that, Jab is yours.
Well, if you are going to gamble, do it responsibly. But do it with Ladbrokes because they're a big fan, supporter of the show.
Ladbrokes. I used to work for Ladbrokes.
Did you?
Yeah. Got the arse from them pretty quickly, but anyway, it's neither here nor there.
Queensland are favourites because New South Wales have got some players missing, but I think that I honestly think those odds they're not as big a favourites. They're not as big a favourites as what they on paper suggest. But
you know what I think? I reckon by the time they kick off in a week's time, it'll be take your pick. They'll both be the same price. I reckon it'll be $1.90 each of two. Queensland are favourites at the moment. We'll have a mystery illness will go through the team. That'll make it tough for them. And as I always say, we can't win Queensland. We can't win. I love saying that in front of all the New South Wales people. It just really pisses them off.
Yeah.
We can't win, but I'll be barracking for them. We'll hope for a miracle again.
Maybe that's part of it. Is that like we talk ourselves down? We never talk ourselves
up. Well, you know me very well. I'm very good at talking myself up.
I'm talking about Queensland as a whole.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know.
But based off your logic, you should be supporting New South Wales by what, this time next year?
No, I shan't be.
No.
I'll never support New South Wales.
All right, just like I'd never support Australia.
Okay, get some knuckles. Good stuff.
Solving all the world's
good logic
problems
from you and me. Good work.
Mate, I just want to quickly ask you, we've gone on to the media, but just back to your career. There was an infamous moment with
Les Boyd
with the elbow tackle. The elbow tackle, the elbow to the face.
That was 1983. It was my first State of Origin game. It was at Lang Park. I thought my time had probably passed me by. I was 27, I think, at the time. I'd been playing pretty good for Penrith. And out of the blue, Arthur Beetson rang me, who was the coach of Queensland. And Arthur Beetson had been, and still is, my idol as a footballer. I loved Arthur Beetson.
I love hearing people talk about him.
Oh, mate, he was that skillful. He was such a good player. Big bloke, had a bit of a gut. Wasn't overly fit. I suppose I fitted into the mould that he was, but was severely inferior to him ability-wise. He was a superstar, and he was my idol. Got a call from him. He said, "I'm going to pick you in the State of Origin side." It was only the 6th ever game they'd played. They played 1 in 80, 1 in 81, 3 in 82, and he picked me for the first game in 83. And I was delighted. He actually picked a forward pack, bit of no-names in there. There's a lot of players that no one had really heard of from Queensland. In those days, Brisbane weren't in the comp, so a lot of players from Queensland playing in Queensland were picked in the side. Brad Tessman was the other front row, for example, who went on to play for Australia. There was a number of them. Mate, it was a big occasion for me. My parents were there and whatever, and to have my jaw broken after 10 minutes, and I actually felt as though that the 10 minutes I was out there, we were on top. I think might have scored a try, I'm not sure. And I felt like I was playing all right. And, mate, to be honest, it was devastating for me and my family. I don't... Mate, I told this story. I actually tried to play on. I knew I'd broken my jaw, right? Les Boyd got me pretty good with the elbow. I don't know if you've seen it. But I knew I'd broken it, and I was down on the ground. What went through my head? What went through my head was John Sattler, who I actually had played with in Brisbane. John Sattler playing a grand final with a broken jaw for South. And people don't believe this, but it went through my head. I thought, you know what? I could become a legend here. This is what I was thinking. If I got up and played a game for Queensland and hopefully we win with a broken jaw, I will go down in history as absolutely one of the legends of the game. Well, after about 5 minutes of trying to play with a broken jaw, I said, Wally was our captain, I said, well, I've got to go off. I'm no good. So I had to go off. So basically my dream was shattered. And they picked an Australian side that night, and Dave Brown, who wasn't even in our squad leading on the day of the game, flew up because Paul McCabe got sick. Anyway, cut a long story short, Dave Brown sat on the bench. He replaced me. They picked an Australian side that night, and Dave was in it. So that sort of just added a bit of fuel to the fire for me. I was just disappointed more than anything. I thought it was a great opportunity. One of the things that people don't realise is when I went off, I was in the shed with my dad. I think there was only 2 of us in the shed. And Les Boyd must have got sin-binned a bit later in the first half. He actually came in and apologised.
Did he?
Into the dressing shed. And Dad just said to him, mate, F off.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear from you. That was my dad. So it was a disappointing. I mean, it was a highlight for me, but also a low light. You know?
Yeah.
It was tough. I battled through so many. I had broken arms, shoulder dislocations, and to cop another one was just devastating. I'd never played for Australia, and as a kid, that's all I wanted to do. Play for Australia, and it was an opportunity that night because Queensland won the game. They picked a team that night, and I was a chance.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen, mate. And then I missed the rest of the season with Penrith, and as it turned out, I ended up playing for Penrith again a few years later, but I missed the whole season, so it was really disappointing.
Yeah. What was the fallout like from that?
Oh, mate, there's a fair bit of fallout. I think he got 9 months. He went to the judiciary and got 9 months. I got a call from someone who said to me, you know what, you should sue him. In those days, there was none of that stuff going on, and I actually did.
Yeah.
I sued Les Boyd, which is something I say to this day. I'm not sure if I did the right thing or wrong thing there, but we got a payout. They settled out of court, and
it definitely did impact you. Not emotionally, physically, mentally, and financially.
Yeah, well, financially is probably the bottom of the list, but my next game for Penrith was worth $5,000 as in a part of my contract. But it was the hurt. The biggest part of the hurt was I missed an opportunity to play for Australia, mate. And you know what? I say this all the time, and I try not to be big-headed about it. I should have played for Australia, in my opinion, but it's my own fault. I didn't. I didn't train hard enough. I was lucky. I was blessed with a bit of skill, and I was lazy, and I say this all the time. I was just lazy, and I'd cut corners whenever I could, training wise. I wasn't a great trainer, obviously, but if I trained the way I should have and whatever, I have no doubt I would have worn the green and gold. But I'm trying to say that without being a big head, but I think I was good enough to play for Australia. And had I taken the whole game a bit more seriously, I probably would have.
Just with your level of skill, I did watch some clips of you putting some kicks in.
Yeah, I was a kicker.
How? I'm just thinking back to props when you were growing up and watching the game.
Yeah.
Mate,
I didn't play prop when I was growing up. I played 5'8". As a kid. I played for Norths in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And Norths in Brisbane were one of the great sides in that era when I was growing up. They won, I think, 7 premierships in a row around the 60s or something like that. So I played in a club side where we were a good club side, Norths.
Yeah.
We played in, I think, every grand final from under 11s through to 18s and won 5 or 6 of them.
You moved from 5'8" to prop.
Well, I played second row. That was through just being big, Yeah. But I was always a goal kicker. I could kick goals. I actually looked it up today. I was telling you I was on YouTube. I looked up today. I actually did kick a goal for Queensland in the big league. I played for Queensland against Great Britain in 1977, and I forgot about it, to be honest with you.
How did you forget that?
Well, because State of Origin is so massive. I played State of Origin 83, one game in 83, one game in 86. But in 77, when I was still playing in Brisbane for Brisbane Norths, they picked a side. Barry Muir was the coach, and they gave me the goal kicking. And as luck would have it, I dislocated a shoulder in that game against Great Britain. But I did kick a goal. I looked it up. I thought I might have kicked a goal in that game. So they gave me the goal kicking. I was only 21, and I think I was either a back rower or front rower then. But I did score some points for Queensland. So to those doubters out there, have a look, 1977.
Were you encouraged to play with the ball?
Yeah. My father coached me all the way through my junior career. As I said, I idolised Beatson. So I tried. It's funny, I don't know if I practiced ball playing, but mate, I would as a kid I would go up. We lived in Chermside in Brisbane, which is one of the northern suburbs, but our house backed straight onto a hospital, and there was a field up there, like an oval. I used to go up there and kick goals, punt kick, drop kick, do the whole lot, and by myself I'd do it. But that was, I was just footy. I was footy crazy and loved it, and wanted to be, up there with my idols and, do that stuff. And I was lucky enough to play enough. I'd like to have done a bit more in my career, but I didn't, But besides the laziness, but I was lazy. I did have a bad run with injuries. I broke my arm a few times, kept dislocating my shoulder, had the broken jaw. As soon as I sort of got on a bit of a roll, I'd have a problem.
Yeah. I know when you finish playing, it's often a strange position to be in. I know you tried your hand at coaching.
No good.
You just didn't you enjoy it, or you just...
Oh, no, I didn't mind it. Mate, I'll tell you what happened. I finished in 87. We won a reserve grade comp with Penrith. The great Graham Murray coached us in 87.
Did he?
Yeah, he's reserve grade at Penrith. Under Tim Sheens was first grade coach, and Graham Murray coached us in the Reggies. Graham's no longer with us. Graham's a terrific bloke. He coached in England too. Had good success over there. But... mate, I decided, I've had enough in 87. Out of the blue, Wayne Bennett rang me. He said, look, the Broncos are starting in 88. We need a reserve grade coach. Would you be interested? Because Bennett coached me in one game in 86 in State of Origin. And I must have had some impact on him, and I don't know what it was. Anyway, he asked me if I'd like to go back to Brisbane and coach the Broncos in 88, first year they were in the comp reserve grade. And I actually thought I'd be an all right coach. But I wasn't, mate. There was a few circumstances in 88. I'd had a family issue. I'd lost a son through epilepsy and lost him in 87. And it was difficult because people handle grief differently. And I probably handled it a little differently to what my wife did at the time. And I went back there and I was involved in stuff whereas she was left really to bring up the kids. I know that sounds a bit dramatic, but... That is a really tough thing, He had epilepsy and he was 8 years of age, so it was awful, But I probably didn't. I didn't grieve as much as I'm trying to put this the right way. I probably should have given myself some time to grieve, and I didn't. And I ended up coaching. It was a whirlwind. The Broncos in the competition, 88. Bennett, first grade coach. They started the season really well. I was coaching Reggies. I wasn't a good coach, a terrible coach.
But you can understand why.
Well, I didn't adapt to it. I'd just come from playing to coaching, and it's never easy. No, and I didn't know the boys, and as much as I thought I'd be all right, I wasn't.
When you've got that personal tragedy,
well, that was really tough on all of us. I've got 2 daughters to my first wife as well. And they're good. We got 2 granddaughters with one of them, but they're good. But everyone handles grief differently, And some people never get over it. Some people get over it quickly. I still think of him. But life moves on, and you got to, do your best day to day. And I've tried to do that. But anyway, that's. That's a long time ago. That was 87. And I've got to say, it was my last year playing footy. The Penrith boys were great to me. Like it happened just before the semis started in 87. And it was always going to be my last year, but it was tough.
My God, it would be, be tough no matter what.
And then we left. We got uprooted and went back to Brisbane. Her family was there, fortunately, so that was good. But, we all handle it differently.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that you can only imagine.
Well, but he was always sick. He had epilepsy, and epilepsy is a mongrel of a thing. I don't know if you know anyone who's ever had epilepsy. It's just awful. You could be happy and smiling one minute, next minute drop to the floor and start shaking. And knock their head, knock the whole lot. It was just hard. Anyway, but she had to endure that for most of the time while I was playing footy, so it was anyway, so that didn't help our situation. So I split up from her. So 88 was a tough time for us.
Yeah, but it was.
And anyway, I ended up coming back to Sydney in 89 and coaching because Bennett gave me the flick. I was no good. And he said, look, you don't have to go. So I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. Then Gale, the Blue, Gus rang me. He must have heard that I'd finished, Gus Gould. They'd won the comp in 88, the Bulldogs. So he asked me if I wanted to go back down and coach the reserve grade at the Bulldogs. I thought, well, I just split up from my wife. I was sort of at a loose end a bit. I thought, you know what, I did love Sydney. So the question was whether leaving with other daughters, etc., was always going to be tough. But I decided to come down and, mate, believe it or not, I lived with Gus for 12 months. That'll bring the fans back. Bullfrog was supposed to organise some accommodation for me. That fell through, apparently. I got to the airport and Gus picked me up. He said, "Oh, look, you can stay at my place for a couple of weeks." Stayed for 12 months. I didn't pay any board. He supplied everything. Did
you have your own room?
Well, I had my own room, yeah. No, it was fine. It was all right. I didn't sleep with Gus.
No, but
mate, I couldn't get Gus off the couch. Mate, Gus is one of those blokes who just refuses to sleep. You know, like I'd go to bed. I go to bed pretty early, but I'd go to bed and he'd be like lying on the couch writing out teams and thinking about rugby league stuff. And he was a great note writer, Gus. And then I'd wake up in the morning and sometimes he'd be still on the lounge, maybe asleep, but he'd have 200 bits of rolled up paper thrown in the corner from teams or thoughts he had and all that stuff. He's a deep thinker, Gus. Now, whether you like Gus or don't like Gus, you know, you make your own assessment there. But I love him. I played with him at Penrith. I played with him at the Bulldogs. I coached under him at the Bulldogs for a year. And then I lived with him for 12 months. And he did some really good stuff for me when things were tough. Like, you know, you split up, you pay maintenance, the whole thing, you know, the whole thing. I didn't have a lot of money, but he looked after me big time. So I'm really indebted to Gus.
Yeah.
So I'll stick up for him every time. You know, and I know he can be hard work sometimes, Gussie.
He can be
argumentative. Yeah. But mate, I will stick with him. Like him and Gallen, I see them on TV and they blueing all the time. Well, I blew with Gallen all the time too. It's not hard to do. I'm a bit like Gus in that way, particularly with Gal. But, mate, I'll stick up for Gus every time. I mean, you know what it's like. People, he polarises so many people. The people who dislike him hate him, don't they? There's one way or the other with Gus. You either think he's good or you think he's bad. And I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm on the good side.
I don't think anyone could doubt his
passion
and love of rugby league and just how much the game
He's a smart
is
bloke, mate.
The dominant force in his life. Like,
was he around Bulldogs when you were there?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Okay.
No. But I know I've met him a couple of times. Just this, you can just see football is.
Dominates,
life.
mate. He's
like
always
it's just
thinking.
Everything. Like it's just yeah.
He's always thinking, and there can be times where you can meet him, and you know he'll be really friendly and fun to be around. There's other times maybe I should just go. You know, because that's what he's like.
Sometimes you see him and you can tell his mind is completely elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, he's at the Dogs again now. I think he's doing a pretty good job. I think they've bought okay there.
But when I say elsewhere, I mean he's thinking. He's not. He just sort of says hello as almost a robotic response because he's thinking about an issue he's trying to solve.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what he's like.
Going like.
And people perceive that as being a bit arrogant and stuff. You know, where I mean, he's done a lot of things in his life. A lot of really, really good things, and he's got a lot he should be proud of, you know. And I don't like it when people criticise him for various things. They might have got him at the wrong time, or he might have got off on the wrong side of bed. But I know the real Gus, and he's a good guy.
I think that's it with a lot of people in the, I guess, in the spotlight, the limelight. I don't know what the difference between a spotlight and a limelight is, but
me neither.
No, I think they're both indicators of public figures. People don't understand who the real person is. But
yeah, well, mate, all I can tell you is he helped me a lot financially and in a lot of ways. You know, mentally, all that sort of stuff. He was a great help to me, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah. One of the things you are most known for is your media career, especially with the Footy Show. Mm-hmm. How did all that eventuate?
Mate, I played my first State of Origin game in '83 when I broke my jaw with Paul Vaughton, and I knew Fatty reasonably well because Fatty came through the Brisbane comp, and I think he started the last year I played in Brisbane. Fatty's a similar age to me; he's a couple of years younger, but he he came to Sydney, I think, the same year I did. He went to Manly and I went to Penrith. I think we came the same year. Anyway, I was never like a mate of his as such, but he had a mate called Johnny Gibbs. He was thick with Gibbsy, and I get on good with Gibbsy. I was working with Gibbsy at 2GB and 2UE. And through Gibbsy, I got to know Fatty pretty well. Anyway, out of the blue, they, I think Gibbsy might have said something to him. He said, why don't you get Brohman on the show once? They had a segment called League of Their Own, which they used to have young kids playing footy, would send in clips of them. And anyway, I'd end up running that segment. Yeah. I might not have been on, I wasn't on the show. I think I only did that segment. So I dipped my toe in the water there, got to know Fatty and the other boys. I love Fatty. Mate, Fatty is the most natural person I've ever seen on television. I don't know if you watched. Did you watch the Footy Show when you were in England?
You know what? I came out here on a tour when I was 15 and I got the Best of the Footy Show DVD for the past decade and the Best of the Footy Show for that year. It was on DVD, so I brought them home. So I watched all that stuff.
Mate, he was funny.
Yeah.
He was really funny and nearly all off the cuff. Mate, the longer the show went, towards the end when we were sort of on, before it sort of stopped, they were having auto cue and all that sort of stuff on the, for him to read it out. He wouldn't read it out. He would have a look. And, mate, I think the funniest parts of the show was when he stuffed stuff up. He would look.
Well, it's organic. It's natural.
He said, what's on? He'd look at the camera and say, okay, what are we doing next? He had no idea.
Yeah.
But he's just funny, mate. Yeah, I just got to look at him and I'm funny. And he's still funny now. Not that I see a lot of him on the TV because he does the Channel 9 stuff on Friday nights. I think he does. I don't know if he does anything else. He would say he's been, working his ass off on Channel 9 where he does nothing. He does the Friday nights and that's about it. He'll do State of Origin, I would think. So his life would revolve around playing golf, punting. He's not a big drinker.
I had a good chat with him in Las Vegas, actually, and he was saying...
loves a punt, loves golf, loves footy.
Trying to get him on here, but because his son is a big fan of the show, but he's a bit hesitant to... his son,
I don't know, mate.
So we're really trying to push him.
I don't, because he's up in Queensland now, he's on the Gold Coast. But, mate, he helped me so much in my early times at Channel 9. And a bit like Gus in ways, he was a great supporter of mine, on the Footy Show. And they ended up finding spots for me and I did various little things. And then we stumbled upon the small talk segment, which we did with the kids.
Mate, just on that, right. So being in this role now, sort of got a little bit of a run sheet, sort of prediction about where this could go. Obviously, I like the off-the-cuff conversation. It's not strict, we've got to stay on track. But I kind of know where this conversation could go because, I'm dealing with a mature adult. I'm
67.
Yeah, who, I don't think there's an answer or a way this conversation is going to go that could completely shock me. But dealing with children, especially not your own children, how would you even know? What the hell were you thinking?
Mate, you know what? I love dealing with children. I absolutely love it. I'm attracted to the kids. In a way, same mentality.
Yeah.
If I see a 4 or 5 year old running around and he's, I'll say, mate, how you going, champion? Give us 5, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
Yes, I get that, but you were actually getting them to answer questions you'd never know where the answers could go.
No, you wouldn't know, and that was part of the beauty of that segment. It was funny. Sometimes I'd go and I used to do it on a Monday, arvo mainly, 4 o'clock after they finish school, and we might be there till 6, might be a couple of hours filming it for 2 or 3 minutes airtime, but. Most times I did it, I'd walk away thinking, that was pretty good. Sometimes I'd walk away thinking, wasn't that good today? And other times I would think, that's hilarious. By the time it got to air and they, did what they had to do with it all, it was either pretty funny or hilarious. It was funny.
Yeah.
It was some of the stuff that they... And that was through the people who, modify it and all that sort of stuff. They managed to link it all together.
Yeah.
They're magicians, the people who do that stuff on television. And they could make what I would think was probably an ordinary little, session, a really funny thing. So when they did that part in the Footy Show, mate, I loved it because I hadn't seen the version once it was finished.
Yes.
So I'd be sitting on the panel and I'd watch it pretty intently just to have a look. And, mate, I would laugh. And, you know, I don't like laughing at myself, but it was funny, some of the stuff.
Do you miss those days?
Oh, yeah, I do. I enjoyed the Footy Show. Was great, mate. I love doing the Footy Show. You know, it was a bit like what I do on radio. There wasn't a great deal of preparation go into it, but we would go there. I do my stuff on the Monday with the kids. You might have to do something else during the week, but normally not. Turn up there on a Thursday night prior to, you know, it kicked off at 9:30, I think it was. You know, we'd get there at 6 or something like that and go through it. But most of it was off the cuff. But it was on the back of Fatty, mate. I mean, the show wouldn't have been a success if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
You know, Sterlo, him and Sterlo were tremendous together. You know, and I think Sterlo would admit this too. I think without Fatty, the show wouldn't have survived. They actually say they thought it was gone after the first night because they stumbled and stuttered and stuffed about. And I think that's what does draw people to it. The fact that they're human, mate. They make mistakes, and the Fat, you know, he'd just have to do that, shake his head, do you know, the head wobble. People laughed. They loved him. And they still love him, mate. He's still earning, I don't know what he's earning, but he'd be on pretty good money doing nothing, basically, for Channel 9, where he'd say, I'm just working my ass off up here doing one night a week, you know.
Well, I think there's something to be said for people who, despite the fact that they're in that role, like he seems genuine. He comes across genuine. He doesn't try and pretend to be someone he's not.
Mate, he on air he's fantastic. Off air he's a bit introverted, believe it or not.
Well, mate, I know that. Yeah,
he's not one to be out and about off. You know, when he's walking down the street and all that sort of stuff. Yahoo, and you know, not that he does that, but he's not like big noting himself.
Yeah.
He's happy. He'd be happy to put a bucket hat on, have the collars up, play a round of golf. If no one spoke to him, he'd be happy with that. And I don't. That's just him.
Yeah.
You know. Whereas I would say I'm the same, but I don't. I'm happy to say g'day to people and all that stuff.
I was going to say, how do you go with interacting with the
mate,
punters?
I've found over the years, look, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but if anyone asks for an autograph, or like in the old days, autograph, these days, selfies, I'll do it. I'll do it all the time. Mate, I'll try and find time for everybody, depending on the situation. Sometimes you're running from, say, the oval, got to get up to the box or something, you know, the radio box. Sometimes I'll say, mate, I can't do it. I've got to get upstairs. But in general, I do have time. Mate, I'll try and have time for everyone. If they want a photo, I'm happy to get a photo with them.
What about when you're out and about in
Oh, mate, you would... Not that many. Mate, when I was doing the Footy Show, there'd be a lot of people.
But people approach you thinking you're this larrikin, like, hey, we want to be funny.
Oh,
and maybe you'll just go
there's some like that. There's some smart asses too.
Yeah.
You know, give you a gobful and try and make us laugh or something like that.
Yeah, like there's an almost...
I just can't do it instantaneously.
Yeah, it's like an expectation call. Yeah. Big Marn, make me laugh.
Well, they do
Tell
think
us a story.
Some people do think that. And I just think, no, I can't, you know... I try and be as loose as I can be, you know, as in laid back, and I don't get worried by too much stuff. You know, I'm a pretty laid back bloke, I've been thrust into the TV, and particularly when the Footy Show was on. You know, people would know you, they'd recognise you and know you and want a little bit of you and a piece of you, and I'm happy to do that as long as they're courteous enough, and you know, just can I get a photo? I say, no problem. You know, that's no problem. But you know, when the smart asses come up and say, "Oh, give us a photo, Brohman," or something like that, I think, you know what? I don't think I'll give you a photo, mate. You know, just give us the right approach, you'd get one. But I'm not going to get it if you're going to be a pain in the ass. Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't happen that often.
Is it weird that you probably get more attention from your media career than your playing career?
Mate. A lot of people wouldn't know I played. Seriously, the young ones, the 20-year-olds or whatever, they wouldn't have known. They wouldn't know I played. You know, so I don't find it weird. I just think, mate, my career wasn't that, you know, stellar. It was all right. I played okay. I was an okay player. Well, but mate, I think more people know me now from television. Without doubt, mate, I'd done radio before I started on the TV. I'd done radio probably for 10 years. Right, and really no one took great notice of me from the radio side of things. But as soon as you get your head on television, and you'll know this, as soon as you get your head on television, people know you, and they want a piece of you, a small piece of you. I'm not saying that in a critical way, but a lot of people do want a piece of you. But that's through television, mate, not through radio and any of that stuff, because I know you do the radio and you do the television, but people know you from television as opposed to the radio. Well, that's my case. I'd imagine you're the same. But now I don't have much option because I don't do much any telly. So I'm on the radio, and I'm happy people still listen to what we do.
Do you ever almost forget you played?
I don't know, mate.
I was speaking to someone about this a couple of weeks ago, one of the pundits, and like I'm 3 years out the game, and I'm almost like, why am I? Oh God, yeah, I'm here because I used to play.
You know what? I don't. You know why? Because I've made a living out of football, rugby league, basically since I was 17. Non-stop. Like I've played until I was 31. I coached for a couple of years. Got into the media almost straight away after I finished coaching, and I've been in it ever since. So, no, I don't forget that I played.
Yeah. See, sometimes it's like, oh, there. Shit, yeah.
Well, you're only 3 years out.
I used to run around a little bit. Like, oh, yeah.
But, mate, you were great. How many tests you play? Do you know? Do you know your stats pretty well?
No, I know it's over 50.
Not many blokes have done that.
No, I know, but you kind of just, you almost, like I remember a lot of the games, but almost in a, like, I think a bit in the present, and then obviously I do different shows and whatever, and it's kind of like, then a bit of reflection, like, what the oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mate, people now,
I know why.
This will apply to you, and, this will apply to you. But, like, people my age know you're a really hell of a player, right? But you've branched out into the media. But people who aren't heavily invested in rugby league but still watch the rugby league shows, for example, in a couple of years, people will be forgetting about what you did on the field. It'll all be about what you're doing behind a microphone.
Well, mate, I was the same as a Premier League fan. Growing up in England, there was people on the TV, and like my dad would go, I tell you what, he was a good player. I was like, he played. I thought he was a presenter or a panel member.
Yeah.
Like,
well, mate, wait till you get to my age. I mean, most people don't know that I played. Well, they probably do, because I do talk myself up a bit, rapping myself. Maybe they do, but the young ones don't know.
Yeah. Just on the radio side of things, I agree. Love it. It's so much fun. Always underdress. Sometimes our boxes in and around corporate events, corporate suites, and you kind of get some funny looks. You've been part of the continuous call team since 2005, is it? Or does it go back further than that with 2GB?
Mate, I left. I was with 2UE originally. I started in the radio at Penrith, 2KA at Penrith in 1990 or 91, I'm not sure. And Brian Sanders called the football out there, and I was his offsider. So that's how I started. I'd been given the ask from both the Broncos and Bulldogs. I actually had a year at Penrith, and I might have got the ask from there as well. I might have been an assistant coach with Gus in 1990, I think. I can't remember. Anyway, I started on the radio. He just out of the blue rang me, said, look, I can't remember. I think I used to get $50 a game, something like that. He said, we call all the Penrith games, and would you like to be the co-commentator? And I thought, you know what? That's something I've always wanted to do. Anyway, so I started there, and mate, I basically had a job since then, since about 1991, every year. I was at 2UE for a while, 2SM, I had a year there. 2GB I've been with a long time now. But, mate, I love it.
I can tell by you still love
doing
the
it, mate.
Yeah.
I love doing it. I enjoy the footy. I'm not mad as in, I'll watch the games, but I don't do a lot of research, to be really honest with you. I wouldn't know stats and all that sort of stuff. I try and be, and I've tried to be myself.
Yeah.
And I feel as though sometimes I am funny. I think I'm funny sometimes. And other times I try and be funny and I'm not. So it's a fine line. the end of the day, I'm one of those believers, you either like me or you don't, and that's the same with everybody, mate. You've got people who like you and people who don't like you at the end of the day. It's the way it is. That's life.
If you try and please everybody, you'll soon find you please nobody.
You know, exactly. You know, and I find, even on Twitter and things like that, not that I'm big on the social media.
Are you on Twitter?
I'm on
X, as it's known.
X, yeah. I've got 50-odd thousand followers, but I do very little. But I think my wife put me onto it and said, you should get on this. It's really good. So I get on, and I don't do much. But I find it interesting to read what other people say. But if someone bags me, I just block them straight away. It's something I've learned over the years. I'm not going to cop the crap on there that, you invariably get. And I know for every person that likes you, there's probably one who doesn't like you. So, But I am on it, mate. I am on it, but I do very little. The Real Big Marn, at the Real Big Marn, I think it's called, because there's a lot of imposters out there, Big Marn blokes.
Impersonators.
They're not real Big Marn people. It's not right.
Obviously, we are involved in seasonal work. What do you do in the off season?
Well,
it's a long off season for the commentator.
I do very little Monday to Friday during the season.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty used to doing very little Monday to Monday during the off season. Mate, I'll try and go away on a break. Don't do much. I do very little. I've got the grandson who lives nearby. I'll hopefully spend a bit of time with him. But we've got 2 dogs that we love dearly. I mean, they're seriously like kids to us. They're brothers, and we just love them.
Do you pick your dog poo off?
Yeah. Well, he'll either do that or mow over it. Depends if the lawn needs.
What about if you take them out for a walk?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, I do that.
Oh, mate, it's one of my, pardon the pun, pet hates. Just
doing it or having people do it in your front lawn?
People don't pick up their dog poo.
Yeah, no.
They don't do it in my front lawn, but when you go for a walk...
Do you, look out your window at people walking dogs just to make sure that they do pick it up?
It doesn't really I live in a cul-de-sac.
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't really get...
So do we.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same. Mate,
but like when I walk around...
I do pick them up, but I don't know if I want to dob myself in here. Sometimes in the morning, I let them out of the house, right, to go out the front to do a whiz or something like that. And one of them might do a poop on the neighbour's lawn, and I don't have the plastic bags with me, so I let it go for the time being.
Well, I'm laughing because I'm just happy it's not happening to me or that you live in my area.
That doesn't happen very often, but it has happened. So I put my hand up.
You have beef with some of your people within the media. I wouldn't care about people's opinion. I'd only have beef with someone in the media if they don't pick up their dog shit.
Well, I do pick it up when I'm taking them for a walk, certainly.
Yeah.
But on the odd occasion, it hasn't happened. But the grass is long.
You're not convincing me.
Speaking of that, my wife, and I know this is not really for public consumption, but too late, you're going to get it. If there's a dog poop in the backyard, she'll step on it somehow, and I don't know how she manages to do that. I try and pick it up the best I can, but if there's one, just a random one, somewhere in our backyard, and she's out hanging the washing out, she'll find it every time.
They're like magnets.
And then she'll say, is that a dog poo I can smell? I said, yeah, it's probably on your thong, like as in a thong on a foot. So
we have a lot of British-based listeners now.
Do they know what thongs are? Scuffs or whatever you call them. What do you call them?
Thongs in England are
undies,
underwear that you don't know whether to floss your teeth with or slice your cheese with.
Well, Darling's 68 now. Let me tell you, she doesn't wear thongs. She wears grandma undies. Well, she's a grandma now.
Maybe there's a market there.
And I get them from Lowe's. Mine are magnificent. My Reggies, they're massive.
When you say Reggies,
the blue ones,
Reg Grundy's brilliant. Absolutely.
Oh, that's right. You don't have Reg Grundy's, do you? Here's an Australian icon, Reg Grundy.
Well, we definitely not refer to them in England as Reg Grundy's. But
you should try that over there. It sounds good.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Have you got to pay Reg?
Reg Grundy's. What else are we talking about? Mate, I've got a car park in a 5-hour zone here. How long am I going to be here?
We will look to wrap this up. How long do you think this media career will keep going?
Well, it could finish this year. I'm off contract, as I said, so I'm hoping to get another year, mate. I love it. I really do enjoy it. Whether I'm becoming irrelevant or not, I don't know. The older you get, obviously you do become irrelevant. And they've at our station at 2GB, they've blooded a few younger people, and they're doing a good job. Josh Morris won, Gallen's there, Levy's still there. Levy's still a young bloke, but he's there calling the football. Piggy Riddell's there. Boyd Corden has done some stuff for us. Alana Ferguson. Sorry, Anita. How am I going? Alana Ferguson. And there's been a few others around the place. So, mate, I understand nothing stays the same forever, but I'd like to think I add something to what they do, and I'll see what happens. I haven't fronted them about a new deal or anything.
You haven't front that no. That sounds like you're ready for confrontation.
Well,
I haven't fronted them.
Well, they haven't knocked my door down either, getting back to me, so I don't go over to Triple M or something, which is obviously an option. Hello,
but we can have a word.
Yeah, no, we'll see what happens. But I've been there a long time, and they've always been good to me. So we'll see what happens.
What's the key to longevity? Asking for a couple of mates.
Oh, mate, I think enjoying what you do, and I think people know if you're enjoying what you're doing, and if you're not, on the media side of things, if you're not enjoying it, people will find that out, I think, pretty quickly. I think you be yourself. I've always tried to be myself. I've never tried to pretend I'm someone that I'm not. Well, on television anyway, or on radio, I just try and be myself. So, as I said before, sometimes I've got to bite my tongue. There's some things I want to say, but I won't say. And other times they will just slip out, and I sometimes get myself into trouble. But I've realised sometimes if I do say something, that's a bit close to the bone, maybe people aren't listening as intently as they should be, because sometimes we just don't get any response to it. So I think, geez, that was lucky. No one is listening.
Dodged a few bullets.
But obviously no one's listening because there's no complaints. Because people can complain. I mean, I don't know about your radio station, Triple M, but on the emails, there's narcs everywhere.
Oh, really?
Oh, you don't see the emails?
I never get any passed on.
No. I see some of them and there's just narcs.
What do they say?
Did he just say that? What's that idiot saying? They just got nothing to do, some people, and they just want to
It's easy
get a bit of relevance.
It's easy to complain these days.
Oh, well, we all do it.
You used to be able to, lodge an official complaint. So you used to have to write out a letter, put your name and address in the top right-hand corner, their name and address in the left-hand.
I must admit, I don't have access. On game days, I have access to emails and SMSs.
Oh, you're seeing them come
I can
through?
see some. Yeah, I can see
them.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
If we're in the studio, we call a lot. So 50% of the games we'll call from the studio because we don't travel. Like if it's in Brisbane or Townsville or Auckland or Melbourne or whatever, we won't travel. But sometimes we don't. We won't go to Wollongong, for example. We'll do it off the TV. We find it. I certainly find it easier as I've got a bit older, and I think it's easier for the station as well. It's probably a bit cheaper. We'll go to like Penrith and Parramatta and.
But you're seeing the complaints come in live while you're trying to commentate.
Well, they're not always complaints. I mean, there's a lot of people rap you and whatever, but I can see them. I have access to see them.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to know.
No, that's probably wise. That's probably wise.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yes, of course.
To finish up before we get into the 4 questions for each and every guest, you got the recipient of an Order of Australia medal.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about how that made you feel?
Well, it came out of the blue. I didn't know much about it, and I still don't. I'm still probably pretty ignorant about what it does. It doesn't get you into any freebies or anything like that.
Doesn't it?
No, well, I haven't used it. To be honest, I don't know where it is. I think it's at home somewhere near my desk. But
I think you should have it.
Mate, I am proud of it because it doesn't happen to everybody. I'm an ambassador for Starlight. I try and do my bit for Starlight Children's Foundation.
Yeah.
I was out at hospital at Royal Children's Hospital last week. Actually did a little bit there. And that started from the Footy Show because we used to have a thing for Starlight where we tried to raise funds for them. And that sort of began my association with Starlight. So, mate, I go and you see people, and there's so many people worse off than you, and it's usually, I find when kids get sick, it happens to the families that can least afford it financially. That's just my and it breaks my heart to see, families there who can't afford stuff,
Yeah.
Anyway, Starlight do a great job for them. Don't know why I'm crying, but and they give the families who might be from Parks or Forbes or whatever, they give them some accommodation there while their child's being treated. They're just a great organisation.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get a bit.
No, well, it's you don't need to apologise because you care.
Well, I do care, but I don't know how I got it, to be honest with you. I talk on radio, say I should be getting awards for doing what I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of great stuff. I should be an immortal, a radio immortal TV. I've done radio, TV, played for Queensland, won a comp. I mean, what else? No one's done what I've done. I should be getting awards. Maybe the people who look at the OAMs must have heard it or something and said, let's give you an OAM. So, mate, I got one and I'm very proud of it,
Yeah,
But as I said, I don't.
So you should be. And
I don't.
for the work that you do away from all that.
Well, I don't do that much, mate. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
It's not hard to be a decent person, and
No,
I try to be. I'm not perfect by any sense, but I try to, particularly as I've got older, I try to be as decent as I can be.
I think there's a lot to be said for that. No matter the circumstance, just be a decent person, and you know what that looks like.
I think so, but it's not hard to be a good person. Just give a bit of love out there now and then, and and help people who are worse off than yourself. If you can do that, you lived a pretty good life, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
We'll get into our 4 questions.
Yes.
Dream Spine, 1679.
Dream Spine, okay. Fullback, I'd probably go Billy Slater.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? And I'm not. It doesn't worry me to say this. I think Reece Walsh. I love Reece Walsh. I know he's got a lot to prove and he's got a lot to do, but he puts bums on seats, and I love watching him play. I think he is such a good player. I'm not putting him in Billy Slater. But he could be different than Billy Slater.
Yeah.
He could be more entertaining than Billy was, and Billy was a great fullback. But this kid's got everything, mate, in my opinion. I think Reece Walsh, not only has he got this blinding speed, the ability to beat a man in and away, I think he defends all right, even though I saw Kevy was a bit critical of him on the weekend. Mate, he tries things, and they're not always going to work, but, mate, he is exciting. I think he's a super player. But Billy Slater.
Yeah. What about 6?
Oh, no doubt, Wally Lewis. Wally's the best player I've ever seen, and I'll say that to the day I die. There will never be a better player than him. He's the best, mate. You would have seen a fair bit of him, wouldn't you? What did you think? Where would you rate Wally? He close to the best player you've seen or not?
Yeah, I probably don't have as much like visual. Never seen him live, obviously, which I think is a big difference. But mate,
I played 2 State of Origins with him. He was phenomenal, mate.
And I trust people. There's people's opinions who I trust,
But he won 6 or 7, maybe more Man of the Match awards in State of Origin. I mean, that's bloody hard to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to win one, mate. He won 6 or 7.
I think that's the tick of approval. You 7?
Andrew Johns.
Oh, you've got a New South Welshman.
Well, I think Andrew Johns is probably all he is. He's the best halfback I've seen. I think he's closest thing I've seen to Wally. He could win games by himself. Larrick and off the field, as Wally probably was a little bit, but Andrew was probably a bit further, But Andrew, to me, is the best halfback I've seen. I think he's a super player.
You number 9?
My number 9 a bit hard. Cameron Smith is probably the obvious answer. But, mate, I played with Royce Simmons. I love Royce Simmons, but he was a great player. But he's a great bloke. He's a great fighter. And he was a really good player. But I also put Steve Walters from Canberra. I know he's a Queenslander as well, but Royce wasn't. Steve Walters was a great player. I never played against Steve. He's just a bit after me, but I loved the way he played. He was tough. He's skillful, good hooker, great passing game. Hooker, that's so important. You got to be able to pass. If you're a hooker and you don't pass extremely well, you're going to stuff everything up. It just ruins the whole momentum of a team. And I see it a lot. There's a lot of hookers playing now who've got a very average pass on them.
Well, speaking about stuffing things up, mate, you're only supposed to. We only really allow one, and you've named three.
Yeah, well, I'm happy, mate. I've named three because as much as I love Cameron Smith, the other two are really different players, and I want Royce to be mentioned because I love Royce.
I know, me too. He coached me at St Helens.
Did he?
I probably didn't. Well, no, and I think it's a good thing. I didn't realise how good he was.
Yeah,
as a player,
he was a good player, mate.
I didn't.
Mate,
realise.
he got knocked out in the State of Origin game, one man of the match. Like that's pre, like these days with the. The hits to the head, etc. Well, he did get knocked out, but he stayed on and he won man of the match. He was a super player. He was there at Penrith in the days when I was there in the early days. He could play. He played 5'8" the first grade. He played lock, hooker. We had another bloke by the name of Jimmy Jones. He's involved with Penrith still, Jimmy. Great bloke. He was a hooker, tough, old school, but just tough. Anyway, Royce came. They were there at the same time. So Royce... Some games Royce had to give way to Jimmy to play lock or 5'8", but they're both good enough players to be in the side. Jimmy ended up playing front row.
Yeah.
But Royce, pound for pound, never met a better bloke.
That's what everybody says, and it goes so far.
Never.
Yeah. He's still revered in St Helens.
Well,
he goes back to Hull, he goes back to St Helens, and he's loved by the people there. He ran like 7 fucking marathons to get Des Hasler.
He did?
He was the coach at Hull, right?
And they couldn't afford.
And they couldn't have. So he's gone knocking on the door, being like, "I want to get this player." He's like, "Oh, well, you get the money then." He goes,
"That doesn't surprise me."
I'm paraphrasing here, but he ran like 7 marathons back to back.
No
surprise. Like to get the money.
Well, he's doing that. Walk for Royce stuff now. I mean, he's doing. There's another one on this year that he's going to do around Sydney. He's going to go from club to club to club to club.
Yeah.
And if you're a clubby and you're watching this, get on board. Because this bloke's a freak. And mate, he still comes down. I live at Cronulla, right? Once a year, him and his missus will come down to Cronulla. We will go up the RSL, get on the drink, have a punt because he loves a punt. And the girls will play the pokies. We have the best day. Like, even though he's got the dementia stuff, I don't see him regularly. I see him 3-4 times a year. I wouldn't know that he had it, but people close to him do know. They know. But he's just a great man, and he's just doing his best. He's a good bloke.
He is. He's a tremendous human being. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. Actually, he was fantastic.
He's a funny bloke, mate.
He is.
And you know what you see is what you get with him. He's exactly the same as he was the first day he walked into Penrith. He is there's not a better bloke on this planet than him. And there's a lot of good blokes, probably equal to, but none better.
Yeah, we had some good times together.
He's a good man, mate. He's a good man.
Yeah, really good. A sliding door. Oh, sorry, before we do that, if football didn't exist, what do you think you would have done?
Oh, I don't know what I would have done. I wasn't overly clever at school. But the more I was at school, the less smart I became, which is stupid. I was actually quite, as a young bloke at primary school, I was quite clever, as in top of the class. But as soon as I got to high school, my grades kept dropping because of lack of interest. Probably I was probably more interested in the footy. I don't know what I would have done. I've had in my life. I've been a poker. I've sold poker machines. I've done labouring. I've been in the bank. I'd probably be in the bank.
There's a story about you in the bank, isn't there? Didn't someone come in with...
Got robbed, yeah. Mate, I was a head teller at Penrith when I was playing at Penrith.
You were playing?
I'm playing at Penrith. Probably shouldn't have. Well, no, I was playing at Penrith, so I was living in Brisbane, got a transfer down to Penrith in the bank because I was in the bank. So I'm in the main street, high street of Penrith, and there's High Street, and at the back of the bank there was a little car park, probably held 6 cars, and there was 2 entrances. And I'm head teller one day, and we've locked the doors of the bank. Next minute, a bloke comes with a sledgehammer out the car park entrance, starts smashing the door down. The door didn't shatter. It shattered, but it's one of those doors, I don't know whether it had wire in it or whatever, but it didn't, the glass sort of shattered but didn't hit the ground and all that stuff. So he kept hitting away about 3 times, and I looked, I thought, shit. I walked into the safe, and I don't know why I did, to hide. I was scared. I thought I was going to get killed.
But why would you go in the safe? That's where he was looking to get
I'm stupid. It was the only place I could find where he couldn't see me. And all,
but
we had all lady tellers.
He wanted to go. If he gets in, where's he going to go? He's going to go in the safe, find you there.
I'm happy to give him the money. They used to tell you if you get robbed, just give them the money and don't put yourself in any danger. So we had about 5 lady tellers there with me, and I just disregarded them and just basically ran for my life. That's the sort of guy I am.
Lock the safe. They're
I didn't
all
lock the safe.
They're all screaming, "Let me in!" You're like, "Fucking no."
It's a long time ago. I'm not proud of it, but I did go and hide in the safe, which was a stupid thing to do. But I did do that. He didn't get in the door, fortunately. So as soon as 3 or 4 slams of the sledgehammer, he didn't get in. He took off.
He gave up after 3.
Yeah. Oh, mate, they would have had the cops on the way. I mean, they bring him straight away. Like, we were in the main street of Penrith. There would have been a police station just around the corner, so they were there pretty quick. But he gave up pretty quick, and so did I. I was in there.
Surely, if you're going to try and rob a bank, you'd want a gun.
Mate, most of the people who rob banks are brain surgeons.
No, but you wouldn't. You think you plan and go, hang on. Like,
well, mate, he picked the wrong door, but he did do it just afterward because we were all trying to balance. You know, in the old, I don't know if you. Bank tellers had to balance every day. Like, you had to add up.
Like on one leg?
How much money? No, not like that. I couldn't do that, even though I'm very good balancing like that now. That's very clever for you. But you had to count your money.
Right, it's balancing time. Way.
Well, you count your money. You go through. Like, we didn't have any computers. This would have been, when would it be? 1980, I reckon. No computers. Everything was done by hand. You had little savings accounts, and you'd write in there, withdraw $20. Take it off, put a stamp on it, give it to the lady. They'd come in with coins. You have to count coins for them. This is one of the most skillful players in the history of rugby league, doing this with coins.
Yeah.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Then you'd lose count and have to start again. I hated that.
Oh.
But anyway, what are we talking about? Yeah, but mate, I was in the bank for a number of years, and then I ended up getting out of that and going into the poker machines, I think. I did a bit of labouring, actually. That's what happened. Because I wasn't fit enough, I thought, you know what I'll do? I'll go and do some labouring. That'll make me a bit fitter, during the week. And the money was all right.
No sledgehammer attacks?
Bricky's labouring? No, I wasn't good at it. But I did Bricky's labouring for about a year, and I thought, no, this isn't for Big Marn.
Tough gig.
Mate, as my dad always said, don't use your body, use your brain. And I tried to do that. So I ended up selling pokies, which I enjoyed doing. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. A sliding doors moment you think about?
But it's really hard to find a sliding doors moment. I actually touched on this before. I reckon a sliding doors moment for me in my life was the day that Warren Ryan took me off the bench and put me on against Cronulla, I spoke to you about before.
Yeah, right, okay.
At half-time of a game when the Bulldogs, who were leading the comp at that stage, were probably into about round 12. They were leading the comp, but they were playing poorly. And he put 4 blokes from reserve grade into first grade for that second half. And had that not happened, from my perspective, I wouldn't have got into first grade side. We wouldn't have won the comp. Well, they might have won the comp, but I wouldn't have won a comp.
Yeah.
And, mate, at the end of my footy career, and I still say it to this day, that's the one, well, not one thing, I'm proud of a number of things, but it's the top of the list for me when it comes to achievements, winning a comp with your mates who you've worked your ass off with for 9 months before you get there. It's fantastic. And I know you've had not a lot of success, but I mean that you did win one, didn't you? Eventually,
yeah, 2 in England.
2, did you?
A couple of Challenge Cups.
Is that up the top of your?
Oh, mate, absolutely.
List? I mean, it's up the top of mine because you. And the reason is, I mean, and I didn't play for my country, but. And I think a lot of blokes who do win comps would say the same thing. The fact that you're with your mates for, 10, 9, whatever months, working your butt off, riding the highs, riding the lows, and achieving it, it's massive.
Well, that's why it's important that the Bulldogs have a celebration for 40 years, because it's, people unfortunately will pass.
Well, mate, they're a very professional club.
You can't wait for 50 years. Well,
that's true. Well, we've already lost Folkesy's passed.
Yeah.
I think he might be the only one of the players who's passed. I'm not sure.
But still, it's worthy of a celebration.
Yeah, of course it is.
And you guys
well, mate, I hope they do it. If you're watching this, could you tell that you've got contacts there?
Well, I'll speak to Luke Goodwin because I think it's important. Because the 2014 had a 20-year celebration.
Yeah, well, there's actually a lot of them who've won on the... Did they win in 14?
No, we lost in 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know that a lot of the finishing with 4 were successful.
Yes, there was a bit of
it was quite amazing.
Yeah. The most interesting person you've met along the way. I'm looking forward to hearing this.
Oh, mate, this is really difficult. Gus is a very interesting person. But I could use him and give you a few examples there. There's a bloke who I played with at Penrith. I don't know if you know this bloke. His name's Lou Zavanovic. You ever heard of Lou Zavanovic? No. Okay. Lou Zavanovic, when I was there in, say, 1979 and 80, was a back rower who was a good player. Just, might do well in those days. If you did 25 tackles, you're a tackling machine, And he was from, and I'm not sure exactly where he was from or where his family was from, but he had nothing, like as no money, nothing. He used to get the train out to Penrith to train. He'd work every day labouring, work his ass off, get to training, train with us, play on the weekend, do 30 tackles. I'd do 10, he just did that stuff. That's what he was doing. And I have great respect for Lou Zavanovic because he managed from having nothing, basically. He's now a multi-gazillionaire.
Is he?
He's done brilliantly.
Good on him.
And I haven't seen him for a little while, but he played 100-odd first-grade games with Penrith. But he did that all by A, working hard, and B, taking risks.
Yeah.
He took some risks. He went into business. He had a company called Alpine Erections, which is not what you think. It was scaffolding. Okay? So he went into scaffolding. Mate, he built the Royce.
I'm glad you clarified.
Mate, he's built, where Royce Simmons lived in the Royce?
Yeah.
He built that.
He built the Royce.
That's his company. He built that thing.
Good on him.
So
Good for him.
He's gone from the scaffolding to development to building places, and I don't know what he does now. In saying that, he has got a couple of issues where he's had about 6 wives, so I don't know where he goes with all that. But I don't know what's going on there. But he's had a few failed marriages. He's got 1,000 kids. But I find him, and I don't see a lot of him, as I said, but I've got great respect for him because he worked his butt off to get to a situation where he then took a few risks financially. And now, I don't know how he's going now. I mean, I don't know what's happened in the last few years financially, but I imagine he's still got a shitload of it.
I like that when someone comes from nothing.
Come from nothing, mate.
Yeah.
And his father, I don't know, the family situation, but father, I don't think had much either. And, and he just scrapped and did what he could to make a quid. And he played over 100 first-grade games. It's a pretty good effort. He was a good player. Great tackler. He did a lot of my tackling. He was very good at that. But he was a good player, and mate, I'm really happy for him that he's made a success of his financial life. Anyway, I don't know if he's made a success with regards to ex-wives and stuff, but I like Lou. He's a great supporter of the Panthers boys. Has been for a long time. I'm not sure if he still is, but he tips a bit of money in here and there for various things around the place at Penrith.
Good. All right. Big Marn,
thanks,
it's been
mate.
An absolute pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you around. Thank you from everybody here at the Bar Round for coming on and sharing your story. And I think from the whole rugby league community for making us all smile along the way.
If you can't smile, you got problems.
Well, mate, it's a very serious game.
It's not that difficult.
No, it's not. But mate, it's a very serious game. We take it very seriously. But it's important to laugh along the way as well, and you certainly help us do that.
Well, mate, you know that. I mean, football clubs are full of blokes who like having a good time. I mean, you do the hard work, and then you have a beer and a smile at the end of it. I mean, it's about camaraderie, mate. And you can't go around not smiling. It's be a boring life. But
it would.
Thank you, mate. Great to be here.
No, pleasure, mate. Absolute
and congratulations on your success, mate. You're doing a great job. Watch out for my wrist there. I did some pull-ups today.
Mate, did some pull.
No, I can't do that. Hello, prostate.